We all know how Christopher Columbus came to the Americas with his three ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, but few realize the profound impact of his arrival on the Native American peoples he encountered. Who were these people, and how were they greeted by the Spanish? This tale unfolds the dramatic and turbulent first contact between the Native Americans and the Spanish, a moment that forever altered the course of history. It was the year 1492, a year that would resonate through time as a turning point in the saga of human exploration and conquest. The Caribbean, teeming with life and vibrant cultures, lay before Columbus and his crew. On the fateful day of October 11th, 1492, the sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the restless waves. The air was thick with anticipation as the Spanish fleet sailed toward the unknown. As they approached the Bahamas from the northeast, the sailors were on high alert, their eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of land. It was amidst this charged atmosphere that a sailor named Rodrigo de Triana, with salt-stained hair and a heart full of dreams, first glimpsed something remarkable, a glimmer of land rising from the sea. "Land! Land!" he shouted, his voice piercing the salty air. The crew erupted in cheers, their hopes igniting like wildfire. Yet it was not the captain, Admiral Columbus, who first claimed this discovery. It was the humble sailor whose keen eye captured the first glimpse of a new world. However, as the excitement swirled around him, Columbus himself was not yet convinced. At precisely 10 o'clock, he spotted a flickering light on the horizon. With the weight of the moment pressing upon him, he squinted against the sun's glare, straining to discern the truth of what lay ahead. Was it merely a trick of the light, or was it indeed the promise of land? The light danced on the waves, rising and falling like a wax candle, teasing his imagination and filling him with both hope and uncertainty. To some of the crew, it was an omen, a beacon calling them toward their destiny. Columbus felt the heavy hand of fate guiding him, urging him to seek the truth hidden beneath the waves. As they sailed closer, the reality of what lay before them began to unfold. The vibrant colors of the tropical vegetation burst into view, a lush paradise rich with the promise of adventure and resources. But who inhabited this land? What were the people like? And how would they respond to these strange newcomers from across the ocean? Columbus knew he must tread carefully. The unknown was fraught with danger and opportunity. The moment finally arrived. The ships dropped anchor in the tranquil waters, and Columbus, along with a small crew, prepared to set foot on this new land. Clad in armor that gleamed in the sun, he stepped onto the soft, sandy shore, his heart pounding in his chest. The beach was alive with the sounds of nature, waves crashing gently, birds singing sweetly, and the rustle of leaves whispering secrets. It was both exhilarating and terrifying. As Columbus and his men advanced inland, they encountered the first of the indigenous people. Tall and graceful, with skin kissed by the sun and adorned with intricate tattoos, the locals observed the strangers with curiosity and caution. The air crackled with tension. Both parties stood on the precipice of history, a thin line dividing them, two worlds about to collide. The Spanish, with their foreign attire and weapons, appeared formidable, while the Native Americans, with their serene demeanor, emanated a wisdom shaped by generations of living in harmony with the land. Columbus, sensing the unease, attempted to establish a rapport. He gestured warmly, attempting to communicate with signs and gestures. But the language barrier loomed large, a chasm filled with uncertainty and fear. The indigenous people, intrigued yet wary, watched the newcomers closely, their eyes reflecting a mix of wonder and suspicion. They had seen strangers before, but never like these, men with metal skin and wild stories from beyond the horizon. The first interactions were tentative. Columbus and his crew offered gifts, trinkets of glass and beads, hoping to win favor and forge an alliance. The Native Americans, unsure of their intentions, responded with cautious hospitality, sharing local fruits and insights into their world. Yet, beneath the surface of politeness, tensions simmered. The Spanish, driven by the thirst for gold and glory, were unaware of the delicate balance that governed life in this new land. As days turned into weeks, the dynamics began to shift. Columbus's men, emboldened by their initial interactions, began to explore the islands further, often venturing deep into the heart of the territories. Each new encounter brought both wonder and conflict. The Spanish were mesmerized by the lush landscapes, the vibrant cultures, and the richness of the resources. But with each passing day, their insatiable hunger for conquest grew. Reports of gold and riches reached Columbus's ears, igniting a fervor within him. He began to see the indigenous people not as potential allies, but as obstacles in the way of his dreams of wealth and fame. The atmosphere grew tense as misunderstandings escalated into confrontations. The once warm exchanges soured, replaced by suspicion and hostility. In one particularly dramatic episode, a misunderstanding over a simple gesture turned violent. What began as a friendly exchange erupted into chaos as the Spanish misinterpreted the intentions of a local leader. A flurry of arrows flew through the air, and swords were drawn. The air filled with the sounds of battle, the cries of the wounded, mingling with the clash of metal against metal. It was a tragic moment, marking the transition from curiosity to conflict, from exploration to conquest. As the days turned into months, the relationship between the two cultures deteriorated further. The Spanish, driven by greed, began to impose their will on the islands, demanding tribute and resources from the indigenous people. Columbus, now fully engrossed in his quest for gold, lost sight of the humanity of those he had once sought to understand. The vibrant cultures of the Native Americans began to suffer under the weight of European ambition. The consequences of these encounters would echo through history, setting off a chain reaction that would change the Americas forever. The clash of cultures led to profound losses, both for the indigenous peoples and for the Spanish, who would soon find themselves grappling with the moral implications of their actions. Disease, introduced by the Europeans, ravaged the native populations, decimating entire communities and erasing rich histories. As Columbus returned to Spain, heralded as a hero, the true costs of his journey began to unfold. The riches he had sought would come at a price paid in the blood and suffering of countless indigenous lives. The echoes of that first encounter on the shores of the Bahamas resonate to this day, a reminder of the complexities of human connection, the potential for both cooperation and conflict, and the lasting legacy of exploration that forever altered the tapestry of the Americas. In retrospect, we find ourselves at a crossroads of history where the narratives of both the Native Americans and the Spanish converge. The encounter was not merely a moment of discovery. It was a profound turning point that set the stage for centuries of exploration, exploitation, and ultimately a reckoning with the past. The lessons learned from this first contact continue to shape our understanding of cultural interactions and the consequences of conquest, reminding us that history is not just a series of events, but a tapestry woven from the lives, struggles, and aspirations of all those who came before us, to some to be an indication of land. Columbus had to make certain that land was close. In the depths of the ocean's embrace, where the horizon seemed to stretch infinitely, Christopher Columbus stood at the helm of his ship, the Santa Maria, a vessel that had endured the tumultuous waves of the Atlantic for what felt like an eternity. The salty sea air whipped through his hair as he gazed into the darkness, his heart pounding with anticipation and dread. The men, weary from months of toil, clung to their hopes like the tattered sails that billowed above them. It was a restless night, fraught with the whispers of uncertainty that danced among the crew, but Columbus was resolute. "Keep a good lookout on the forecastle," he commanded, his voice cutting through the chill of the night. The men nodded, their eyes scanning the inky blackness ahead, every shadow a potential mirage, every wave a harbinger of fate. The promise of land was not merely a physical destination. It represented the culmination of their dreams and aspirations, the golden prize that beckoned them forward. Columbus felt a surge of determination as he announced a reward that would ignite the spark of competition among his weary crew. "The first man to spot land shall be bestowed with a fine silk doublet, a treasure of immense value, along with a bounty of 10,000 maravedis promised by our sovereigns." His words hung in the air, a tantalizing lure that transformed the fatigue etched on the men's faces into fervent anticipation. Whispers of the silk doublet ignited their imaginations. It was not just clothing, but a symbol of honor, a badge of bravery in a world that often rewarded the meek with obscurity. As the stars twinkled overhead, the crew's spirits were momentarily lifted, their eyes sharp and alert, fueled by visions of glory. The hours dragged on, the ocean a tapestry of mystery and possibility, until at last, 2 hours after midnight, a cry rang out, shattering the silence of the night. "Land ho!" The voice was raw with excitement, trembling with disbelief. Columbus rushed to the side of the ship, heart racing as he squinted into the darkness. There on the horizon, a faint outline emerged, an ethereal silhouette against the shimmering backdrop of the sea. His breath caught in his throat. It was not just land, it was hope manifesting before their very eyes. "All hands on deck!" Columbus shouted, his voice booming with authority. The crew surged forward, pushing aside their weariness as adrenaline coursed through their veins. The anticipation was electric. Men clutched the rigging, eyes wide with awe and disbelief. Columbus, sensing the gravity of the moment, commanded the ships to halt, a wise decision forged from the respect for the unknown that lay ahead. "We shall wait for daylight," he declared. "To venture forth now would be to risk everything we have fought for." The night passed with agonizing slowness. Each man wrestled with his own thoughts, dreams intertwining with fears as they waited in the dark. Columbus paced the deck, restless, haunted by visions of what lay ahead. He recalled the promise he had made to the sovereigns, the hope of a new world to explore, and the potential riches that could be claimed. But he also knew the weight of responsibility that rested on his shoulders. What if this land did not hold the treasures they sought? What if they were to find only disappointment? As dawn broke, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, Columbus's heart swelled with a mix of anxiety and exhilaration. The light revealed the land in all its glory, a lush paradise brimming with life and color. The air was fragrant with the scent of tropical flowers, a stark contrast to the briny sea that had been their only companion for so long. As they drew closer, Columbus and his crew beheld an array of green trees swaying gently in the breeze, their leaves shimmering like emeralds. Fruits of every kind dangled from branches, a vivid display that promised abundance. When the ships finally anchored, Columbus took a deep breath, inhaling the essence of discovery. He stepped onto the soft, warm sand, the ground solid beneath his feet, a sensation he had longed for during the endless days at sea. His crew followed, eyes wide with wonder, laughter escaping their lips as they embraced the moment. Each step felt like a triumph, a testament to their resilience and unwavering spirit. Yet, as they explored their new surroundings, a sense of unease crept in. The silence of the land was broken only by the rustle of leaves and the distant calls of unknown birds. Columbus felt a prickling awareness, a whisper of caution that tugged at the back of his mind. He recalled the stories of explorers who had ventured into uncharted territories where beauty often masked danger. This land was untouched, a paradise that might hold both wonder and peril. As they moved deeper into the island, they stumbled upon signs of life, huts woven from palm fronds, intricately painted with patterns that spoke of a rich culture. But where were the inhabitants? The thrill of discovery was tinged with apprehension. Columbus gathered his men, their faces a mix of excitement and unease. "We must tread carefully," he urged, "for we know not who walks these shores." Suddenly, a rustle in the bushes shattered the air, drawing their attention. Columbus's heart raced as he turned to face the sound, hand instinctively resting on the hilt of his sword. The crew held their breath, the moment suspended in time as a figure emerged from the foliage. It was a native man, tall and proud, with skin that glistened like polished mahogany under the sun. His eyes were wide with curiosity and caution, mirroring the mixed emotions of the crew. Columbus took a step forward, raising his hands in a gesture of peace. "We come in friendship," he called out, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. The native man studied them intently, his expression inscrutable. The tension was palpable, every man on edge, poised for any reaction. For a moment, it felt as if the very air held its breath, waiting for the next move. Then, slowly, the native man lowered his guard, a cautious smile breaking through the tension. Columbus felt a wave of relief wash over him. Perhaps this was the beginning of something extraordinary, a bridge between worlds that had never met. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, illuminating the landscape in a golden glow, Columbus and his crew engaged in tentative communication with the islanders. The exchange of gestures and smiles became a dance of curiosity and hope. Columbus offered gifts, a mirror, some trinkets made of glass, tokens of goodwill that spoke of their intentions. The native man reciprocated, presenting colorful feathers and fruits, treasures from a world Columbus had only begun to understand. The day unfolded like a tapestry, each moment woven with the threads of new connections and shared stories. Columbus marveled at the islanders' way of life, their deep respect for the land, their laughter echoing in the warm breeze. But as the sun dipped low on the horizon, painting the sky in hues of crimson and gold, a sense of foreboding crept back into his heart. At would tomorrow bring? Would this newfound friendship endure, or would it shatter like glass under the weight of greed and ambition? As the stars twinkled into existence above them, Columbus felt the weight of history resting on his shoulders. He knew that their actions in this land would echo through time, shaping the destinies of countless souls. In the days that followed, Columbus and his crew forged a bond with the islanders, a delicate alliance that blossomed amidst the backdrop of uncertainty. They learned from each other, exchanging knowledge and traditions, sharing laughter and stories around the flickering flames of evening fires. Yet, in the shadows, the specter of ambition loomed large. Columbus couldn't ignore the whispers of treasure that echoed in his mind, the promises made to the sovereigns that beckoned him to explore further, to conquer. One fateful evening, as they gathered to feast beneath the stars, Columbus shared his dreams of exploring more islands, of finding riches beyond imagination. The crew listened, caught in the web of excitement and ambition that spun around them. But the islanders, though gracious, looked on with wary eyes, sensing the shift in the tide of their friendship. As Columbus planned the next steps of their journey, a storm brewed on the horizon, dark clouds gathering ominously. The winds shifted, howling through the trees as the waves churned angrily. Columbus felt a chill grip his heart. Nature's fury was a reminder that their journey was fraught with danger, and the price of ambition could be steep. The storm hit with a vengeance, rain lashing down and winds howling like a pack of wolves. The ships rocked violently against the waves, the crew scrambling to secure the sails, their faces etched with fear. Columbus shouted orders above the cacophony, his voice a beacon of resolve amidst the chaos. But even he could feel the weight of uncertainty pressing down on him. In the heart of the storm, with the ocean raging and the ships threatened by the fury of nature, Columbus's thoughts turned to the islanders. Would they stand by them in this tempest? Or would they retreat into the safety of their homes, leaving the strangers to face the wrath of the sea alone? As lightning illuminated the dark sky, a figure appeared on the shoreline, one of the islanders, standing resolute against the storm. In that moment, Columbus felt a flicker of hope. The bond they had forged was stronger than he had dared to believe. The islanders had not abandoned them. The figure signaled, urging them to come ashore, to seek shelter from the storm. With newfound determination, Columbus rallied his men. "We must reach the shore," he shouted, his voice cutting through the roar of the storm. They fought against the waves, their hearts pounding in unison, driven by a mix of fear and gratitude. As they reached the shore, drenched and exhausted, the islanders welcomed them with open arms, their expressions filled with concern and compassion. Columbus felt a wave of relief wash over him, gratitude surging within. In that moment, he understood that the true treasure of this journey was not gold or riches, but the connections they had forged, the shared humanity that transcended their differences. The storm passed, leaving behind a stillness that felt almost surreal. As dawn broke once again, Columbus looked out at the land that had once seemed so distant and unattainable. They had faced adversity together, and in doing so, had discovered something far more valuable than any treasure: the power of unity, of standing together against the storms of life. In the days that followed, Columbus and his crew continued to explore the island and its surroundings, building upon the fragile friendship they had formed. The lush landscape revealed more wonders than they had ever imagined: hidden coves, cascading waterfalls, and vibrant wildlife that danced through the underbrush. Each day was a new adventure, filled with moments of discovery and connection. But with each passing day, the shadows of ambition loomed larger in Columbus's mind. The sovereigns had entrusted him with a mission, and the lure of gold and glory was a persistent whisper that tugged at his heart. The men spoke of riches and lands yet undiscovered, their eyes gleaming with dreams of wealth. Yet, Columbus felt a growing conflict within himself. Would the pursuit of wealth shatter the bond they had built with the islanders? Would their quest for glory overshadow the humanity that had flourished amidst the beauty of the land? As the sun set on another day, Columbus gathered his crew around the fire, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames. "We stand at a crossroads," he began, his voice steady but tinged with gravity. "We have discovered a new world, one filled with beauty and promise. But we must ask ourselves, what is the cost of our ambitions? Will we honor the bonds we have forged, or will we allow greed to cloud our judgment?" The men listened, their expressions thoughtful as they contemplated his words. The flickering flames danced in their eyes, illuminating the struggle that lay ahead. Columbus could see the conflict mirrored in their faces, the allure of wealth battling against the connections they had made. As the night deepened, they shared stories of their homeland, laughter mingling with the crackling of the fire. Columbus felt a sense of camaraderie envelop them, a reminder that they were not just explorers, but individuals with dreams and fears, united by their journey. The weight of ambition felt lighter in those moments, overshadowed by the warmth of their shared humanity. Yet, as dawn broke on the horizon, Columbus knew the time for decisions was upon them. The call to explore further, to uncover the riches of the New World, was insistent, and the crew's excitement was palpable. The islanders, too, were eager to show them more, their eyes sparkling with stories of their ancestors, of lands that lay beyond the horizon. With a heavy heart, Columbus called for a meeting with the island leaders, seeking their wisdom and counsel. The dialogue was filled with respect and understanding as they shared their hopes and fears. The islanders spoke of their connection to the land, of the delicate balance that sustained them. Columbus listened intently, recognizing the wisdom that lay in their words, a reminder that true discovery came not only from exploration, but from understanding and respecting the world around them. As the sun rose higher in the sky, Columbus felt a renewed sense of purpose. They would explore further, but with a commitment to honor the bonds they had forged. They would seek knowledge, understanding, and respect for the land and its people. In doing so, they would not just be conquerors, but stewards of a new world, shaping its destiny with integrity and compassion. The journey ahead was uncertain, fraught with challenges and discoveries yet to come. But Columbus stood at the helm of his ship, his heart swelling with hope as he gazed out at the horizon. The sails billowed above, filled with the winds of adventure and possibility. Together with his crew and the islanders, they would embark on a journey that would reshape the world, a journey defined not by conquest, but by connection. As the ship set sail once more, Columbus felt the weight of history pressing upon him. This was more than just an expedition. It was a new beginning, a chance to rewrite the narrative of exploration. They would seek land and riches, yes, but above all, they would seek understanding and unity, a legacy that would echo through time, binding two worlds together in an unbreakable tapestry of shared humanity. In the years that followed, Columbus's voyage would be remembered not just for its discoveries, but for the lessons learned along the way. The encounters forged in the spirit of curiosity and respect would lay the groundwork for a future where cultures could learn from one another, where exploration could be driven by a desire to understand rather than conquer. As Columbus gazed out at the endless ocean, he knew their journey was just beginning. The world was vast, filled with wonders yet to be discovered. Together, they would navigate the waves, each moment a testament to the power of connection, resilience, and the shared dreams that had brought them to this point. And so, under the watchful gaze of the stars, Columbus and his crew sailed toward the horizon, where new lands awaited, and with them, the promise of a future shaped by the bonds of understanding and friendship. The adventure had only just begun, and Columbus could hardly contain the excitement bubbling within him, knowing that their story was destined to become a beacon of hope for generations to come. As the ship's anchor finally splashed into the turquoise waters of the Caribbean, a sense of triumph washed over Christopher Columbus. He stepped onto the golden sands, a glimmer of sunlight illuminating the path ahead, and fell to his knees, overwhelmed with gratitude. With fervent devotion, he bowed his head, whispering prayers of thanks to God for a safe voyage across the vast, treacherous Atlantic. This moment, fraught with the weight of history, marked not just the arrival of a man, but the dawn of a new era. Columbus rose slowly, his heart racing with anticipation, and with resolute determination, he planted a flag into the earth. The flag fluttered proudly in the gentle breeze, a vivid declaration that this land was now claimed for Spain. Little did he know, hidden behind the lush greenery of the dense forest, the Taino people observed the scene unfold. For 1,000 years, this land had been their home, a sanctuary of vibrant culture and rich traditions. The Taino watched in silence, their hearts pounding as the tall, strange figures emerged from the water, clad in unfamiliar garments. Fear mingled with curiosity, and they whispered among themselves, unsure of the intentions of these newcomers. The air was thick with tension, and the rustling leaves seemed to echo their unspoken questions. Suddenly, a delegation of Taino men and women stepped forward, their colorful garments shimmering in the sunlight. They approached the beach cautiously, holding their heads high, projecting a mix of bravery and caution. Columbus, noticing the gathering, felt a surge of excitement. This was not merely an encounter with land. It was an opportunity for dialogue, for discovery, and perhaps for riches beyond his wildest dreams. As the Taino drew nearer, the Spaniards' eyes widened in astonishment. The Taino people, with their warm brown skin and striking features, seemed to radiate a spirit of hospitality. In their hands, they carried offerings of food and drink, tropical fruits bursting with flavor, cool, refreshing coconut water, and cassava bread, each bite a testament to their rich agricultural heritage. They presented Columbus and his crew with gifts of vibrant parrots, their feathers a brilliant tapestry of reds, greens, and blues, along with intricately woven cotton and other exquisite goods from the island. In exchange, Columbus offered them simple tokens, bright red hats and glass beads that glimmered under the Caribbean sun. The Taino, who had never laid eyes on white men before, regarded these gifts with wide-eyed wonder, believing these newcomers to be gods or divine beings. The interactions unfolded like a carefully choreographed dance, where each party hesitated, gauging the other's intentions, unsure of the future that lay ahead. But beneath this facade of peace lay an undercurrent of tension. As Columbus basked in the admiration of the Taino people, his mind raced with thoughts of gold. He had heard whispers of its existence in these lands, tales spun from the threads of desire and ambition. Columbus spent the next 2 months scouring the island, each day fueled by an insatiable quest for treasure, unaware that his relentless pursuit would unleash a storm that would irrevocably alter the lives of the Taino. The days passed swiftly, and as Columbus explored the island, he encountered breathtaking landscapes, from verdant mountains to sprawling beaches. The allure of the land enchanted him, but it was the prospect of gold that truly captivated his imagination. Guided by a fervent desire to fulfill his monarch's ambitions, he set out on expeditions deeper into the territory. He sought counsel from the Taino, whose knowledge of the land proved invaluable. They directed him toward rivers and valleys where glimmers of gold might be found. However, as Columbus's exploration intensified, so did the complexities of his relationship with the Taino. The initial warmth and mutual curiosity began to fray at the edges. The Taino people, who had once welcomed Columbus with open arms, started to feel the weight of his insatiable greed. Their lands, sacred and bountiful, were being transformed into a backdrop for conquest, and the growing demands of the Spaniards began to suffocate their way of life. In the midst of this tension, Columbus's expeditions grew more intrusive. He demanded food, labor, and information, his once humble requests morphing into authoritative commands. The Taino, caught between their innate sense of hospitality and the harsh reality of subjugation, grappled with the painful choice of compliance or resistance. Whispers of discontent rippled through their communities, igniting a fierce determination to protect their land, their culture, and their identity. As Columbus and his crew delved deeper into the island, they stumbled upon the Taino villages, each bustling with life. Colorful murals adorned the walls of their homes, depicting their history, their gods, and their connection to the land. Children laughed and played, their joy a stark contrast to the somber intentions of the Spaniards. Columbus watched, a flicker of admiration igniting within him, yet the flames of greed burned hotter. He envisioned the riches these vibrant people possessed, treasures that could secure his legacy back in Spain. The Taino leaders, wise and resilient, convened to discuss their predicament. They knew the importance of unity, and their gatherings became a sanctuary for voices that echoed the same sentiment, the need to protect their homeland from the encroaching shadows of conquest. Stories were shared of ancestors who had faced hardships and triumphed, their spirits fueling a collective resolve. It was a time for courage, a time to stand firm against the tides of change that threatened to sweep away their existence. Amidst this brewing storm, a young Taino warrior named Guarionex emerged as a symbol of resistance. He was known for his fierce spirit and unwavering loyalty to his people. His heart ached at the sight of his kin, their hospitality twisted into a weapon against them. Inspired by the tales of their ancestors, he rallied his fellow warriors, instilling in them the belief that they could reclaim their dignity and protect their way of life. The camaraderie among the Taino grew stronger as they forged plans to confront the Spaniards. As dawn broke one fateful day, the tension erupted. Columbus and his crew, emboldened by their numbers and the perceived superiority of their weapons, marched toward the Taino villages. But Guarionex and his warriors stood resolute, armed with their bows and arrows, ready to defend their home. The two groups faced each other, a palpable tension filling the air, each side representing not just different peoples, but vastly different worldviews. The first arrow flew through the air, striking a Spaniard in the arm. Chaos erupted as the Taino warriors charged forward, their hearts pounding with adrenaline and the weight of their ancestors' spirits. Columbus, caught off guard, realized that the Taino were not merely passive observers of their own fate. They were fierce protectors of their homeland. What ensued was a fierce battle, the sounds of clashing metal and war cries echoing across the landscape. Columbus had come in search of gold, but he found himself amid a struggle for survival, a fight not just for land, but for the very essence of existence. As the dust settled, both sides realized the cost of ambition and resistance. The Spaniards faced unexpected losses, and the Taino, though valiant, bore the scars of conflict. In the wake of the battle, the realization dawned upon both parties. The tides of change could not be reversed, but understanding was still possible. Columbus, shaken by the resistance and aware of the humanity of the Taino people, began to reflect on his motivations. The initial vision of gold became blurred by the recognition of the complexities of human relationships and the consequences of conquest. The Taino, wounded but not defeated, began to redefine their relationship with the Spaniards. They sought to coexist, navigating the treacherous waters of a new reality. Columbus, although still driven by ambition, found himself compelled to engage with the Taino people on a deeper level. What began as a quest for riches transformed into an exploration of understanding and respect. Through these tumultuous interactions, a new narrative emerged, one that recognized the resilience of the Taino and the complexity of the human spirit. As Columbus spent the following months on the island, he learned from the Taino about their customs, their strengths, and their harmonious relationship with nature. The beauty of their culture began to shine through the clouds of conquest, and Columbus's perspective shifted, if only slightly. Ultimately, the arrival of Columbus marked a profound turning point in history, a collision of worlds where the Taino people were thrust into the harsh realities of colonization. Their resilience, however, became a testament to the strength of the human spirit in the face of adversity. The legacy of this encounter, filled with both tragedy and hope, rippled through time, reminding future generations of the importance of empathy, understanding, and respect. As Columbus prepared to leave the island, he carried with him not just tales of gold and glory, but stories of a vibrant culture, of brave warriors like Guarionex, and of a people who, against all odds, stood firm in their identity. The Taino had shown him that the pursuit of wealth could not overshadow the richness of human connection, and in that realization lay the seeds of a new understanding, one that would shape the world for centuries to come. In the end, Columbus's landing was not merely a footnote in the annals of exploration. It was a catalyst for change, a call to reflect on the values of humanity, and a reminder that every encounter, no matter how fraught, carries the potential for growth, understanding, and transformation. In December of 1492, as Columbus sailed east of Cuba, 3 ships under his command approached the Caribbean's second-largest island, which they would later name La Navidad. Just as he prepared to return to Spain on Christmas Eve, disaster struck. The Santa Maria ran aground and sank. The Taino chief, Guacanacari, rallied his people to assist the Spaniards, urging them to salvage everything they could from the wreck. However, a pressing dilemma emerged. The crew could not all fit onto the 2 smaller ships that remained. In response, they constructed a fort from the salvaged wood of the Santa Maria, leaving behind 39 men at a site in Columbus named La Navidad. Soon after, Columbus set sail for Spain, taking some of the natives, exotic birds, and new foods to present to the king and queen. For his second voyage, Columbus was entrusted with a fleet of 17 ships and a contingent of soldiers. Upon returning to La Navidad, Columbus was met with devastation. The fort lay in ruins, and all 39 men he had left behind had been brutally killed. It appeared that those sailors, abandoned in the New World, had engaged in rampant misbehavior, committing acts of theft and heinous assaults on local women. One local leader, Caonabo, convened with other chiefs, and almost unanimously, they concluded that no gods would behave in such a vile manner as the Spaniards had. They resolved that the intruders must be eliminated, thus eradicating the threat they posed. Columbus vowed vengeance, determined to track down Caonabo. New fortifications sprang up rapidly, culminating in the establishment of a city on January 2, 1493, named in honor of the Queen. From that moment forward, the Taino way of life was irrevocably shattered, as the Spaniards sought revenge for the destruction of La Navidad and began enslaving the local populace. Columbus forced the Tainos into the gold mines, demanding they search for precious metals. Those who resisted were met with swift execution. Each adult over the age of 14 was required to present a hawk's bell filled with gold every 3 months, or, if unable, 25 pounds of spun cotton. Failure to meet these demands led to horrific punishments. Hands were severed, leaving victims to bleed to death. Taino women were handed over to Spaniards to be used at their discretion. The once fertile fields fell into neglect, unable to sustain either the Tainos or the Spaniards, who soon faced starvation. Columbus eventually tracked down Caonabo, lured him into capture, and shipped him off to Spain, where he was never heard from again. Many Tainos succumbed to starvation, others to the grueling labor, and some took their own lives. Epidemics swept across the island like a storm. They were beaten, tortured, raped, enslaved, and murdered. By 1496, the Taino population had plummeted by nearly 70%. The chief who had once befriended Columbus soon passed away. At this juncture, tensions erupted among the Spaniards in La Isabela, leading to a rebellion against Columbus and his brothers. The Spanish crown dispatched a royal investigator to quell the unrest. Columbus and his brothers were found guilty of numerous atrocities against both the natives and their fellow Spaniards. They were arrested and sent back to Spain. While the Spanish authorities permitted Columbus one last voyage, they forbade him from returning to La Navidad. He roamed the Caribbean for 2 more years before ultimately returning to Spain, where he died in 1506. Meanwhile, the Tainos who refused to serve the Spaniards fled to the mountains, where they sought refuge. Their leader was a woman named Anacaona, the wife of Caonabo, the chief who had orchestrated the attack on the Spanish fort years prior. In 1503, the Spanish governor requested a meeting with her, aiming to break the Taino resistance. During the assembly of 80 Taino leaders, including Anacaona, Governor Nicolas de Ovando ordered the meeting house to be set ablaze, condemning them to a fiery death. Anacaona was arrested and charged with conspiracy for resisting occupation, leading to her execution. Before her death, she was offered clemency if she would submit to one of the Spaniards, a common practice of the time. Standing in solidarity with her fellow Tainos, the indomitable female leader chose death over betrayal, solidifying her legacy. Anacaona remained a symbol of rebellion and independence until her violent public execution. She was hanged at the age of 29. Another Taino chief, Kotubanamaho, ruled in a different area and initially successfully resisted the Spaniards, but eventually met the same grim fate as Anacaona. Yet, one Taino emerged as the most resilient of all. His name was Enrique. He was present at the meeting when the Spaniards burned 80 Taino leaders, including his own father. Enrique managed to escape. After the governor named Venezuela raped his wife, Enrique ignited a revolt in 1519, rallying many Tainos from the mountains. He and his followers established a community in the hills, creating a network for reconnaissance. Enrique instructed his men to fight only in self-defense, killing Spaniards solely in battle and disarming them otherwise. Despite repeated attacks, the Tainos continuously repelled the invaders. During one fierce clash, Venezuela himself was captured, yet Enrique spared his life and ordered his release. The Tainos maintained their rebellion, engaging in guerrilla warfare against the Spaniards until 1533, utilizing their superior knowledge of the terrain. Unable to subdue the uprising, Spain's monarch, Charles V, eventually signed a treaty granting the Tainos rights to freedom and possession of their lands. Enrique settled in the mountains with his 4,000 followers, the last vestiges of Taino culture. However, by this time, the native population was rapidly declining due to European diseases. By the end of the century, the Taino were officially declared extinct.